Hello students, Mr. Greg here, and I hope you're doing well. I want to continue our learning with lesson number 8, and if you remember when we last left off, we had set up our joystick to control 3 LEDs, one in the X direction, one in the Y direction, and then the switch that we could turn on and off. And as you can see in the bottom right hand corner of your screen, we set that up to read the serial monitor so we could see the values that we were sending to the LEDs through the Arduino. And so as we slowly lowered that value in the X direction, it would dim our LED and then eventually turn it off when we got to 0. And then the same for the Y direction. As we got closer to 0, it would dim the LED and eventually turn it off. Well, my son correctly observed that it did not seem to work right. Like, it took a lot of movement of the joystick before you started to see the LED dim, and he didn't understand why that was. And so today we're going to talk a little bit about that. I have the serial monitor open, and as you can see the values go down. I want you to notice something as I get, I can control it here, as I get down to around below 200, really 255, you'll start seeing it dim. Well, if you remember correctly, move this out of the way. If you remember correctly, the joystick produces an analog output. And an analog output is 0 to 1023, right? Well, the LED is a digital device, which means it uses either a 1 or a 0. It uses binary code. So the way we would dim the LED was through pulse width modulation. If you remember on the oscilloscope, we would turn it on, then we would turn it off, then we would turn it on, then we would turn it off, and so forth. And this on and off would trick your eye into the LED appearing dim. So since it's a digital device, it's looking for numbers between 0 and 255. And so back to our LEDs, if you'll notice, it won't start to dim until I get below 255, and then you'll dim. Well, the play in the LED is not that great. You don't have a lot of play in it, a lot of movement, and so it's just, you have to really be fine, really slow movement to see that change. And so that's not what we want, right? We want the whole range of movement on our joystick to control the dim of the LED. And so how are we going to do that? Well, unfortunately, or fortunately I should say, we're going to have to do a little math. And so, oh no, math. So we're going to have to convert this. So let's just think about this. If I have a graph like this, and this is my X value, and it's a number between 0 and 1023, and this is my X LED value, And it's looking for a number between 0 and 255. So that means we've got a line that looks something like this, and when the X value reading from the joystick is 0, we want the voltage to be 0. And if the X value is 1023, we want not the voltage, but the signal to be 255. So we have 2 points here, so we need to find the slope of this line. And I don't know if you've learned the slope formula yet, but it's m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So let's use this in terms that we're trying to deal with. So in our case, that would be, I'm going to say the red LED value 2 minus red LED value 1 over the X val here, X val 2 minus X val 1, X val 1. So if we plug our numbers in, red LED value 2 is this number, 255, minus red LED value 1, 0, over X value 2, which is 1023, minus X value number 1, 0. Then we get the slope of our line as 255 divided by 1023. So now that we have a slope, we can use the point slope formula to find the equation of this line. So what is that? I'm going to, should have written this smaller. So I'm going to do that right here. So that formula is y minus y1, make sure you can see this, is equal to our slope times x minus x1. So again, using our values, I'm going to have to write a little small here, that we're talking about the red LED value minus red LED value 1 is equal to our slope here, which is 255 over 1023 times our X val minus 0, right? Because X val 1 is 0. So this is our formula. So if I rewrite this, red value 1 is also 0. So if I rewrite this, red value, red LED value is equal to 255 over 1023 times X value. And so we'll need to put that in our code to be able to vary or dim the LED. So let's do that. Let me get over here where you can see a code. Let me change this to here. Alright, so here's the code that we left off with when I did the review, the homework. And if you haven't watched that video, you need to do that first so that you can get caught up to where we are. So let's think about this. If we are going to take X value and we're going to put it into a bucket that we can then write to our LEDs, then we're going to need to change X value up here to a float because we want the in-between numbers. Alright, and then we need to change it from an int to a float up here also, which I've already done. But you'll probably need to change that in your formula. And then we need to come down here and we need to create a couple more variables to put that information in. And so the first variable I'm going to create, I'm going to do an int. Now I'm going to call it that red LED value. And we're going to write to that. And then I'm going to do one for my yellow LED value that we're going to write to that. So that's where once we convert our 1023 signal to a digital signal of 255, we're going to write it to those two variables. Alright, so then we're going to come down here. We didn't set up any more pins, so we don't need to create any pin modes. Alright, so now we have changed some of this. So we're going to get an X value, but we need to convert that, right? And so what did I say we were going to do? It was red L val is equal to my formula 255 dot, remember floating point math, I need to put this in a parentheses, divided by 1023 floating point math. We're going to do that in parentheses because we want, just like with any function, we want it to do that part first, and then we're going to multiply that by what? The value we get from the joystick. And so that will be X val. Val. I hope that makes sense to you. And then we'll do the same for the yellow LED. 255 Y val. Now we need to come down here and instead of writing X val to our red LED, what do we need to write? You got it. Red L val. And yellow L val. So that converts 1023 to a digital number and writes it to our LEDs. We have our delay in there. We don't need to change our green LED because it's still an on-off switch. But I'm going to, instead of reading the X valve, now I'm going to change what I'm reading on my serial port, and I'm going to change that to read red L valve and yellow L valve. Alright, let's see if I made some mistakes, which is highly likely. Downloading. Alright, I'm going to open the serial monitor so we can see what's going on here. I'm going to change this so you can see what's going on. Alright, so in the neutral position, oh, you can't see. So in the neutral position, we're getting a value on the X of 126 and on the Y of 125. So that's when I'm not touching my joystick. It's there. Now if I get this where I can hold it and maybe where you can see it. Now if I move my X value higher, my X LED should get brighter, and I don't know if you can see that or not. It is, but it's probably pretty hard to see on this video. And then if I move it to the left, it gets dimmer. So do it faster, you can kind of see it better, can't you? Now, if I set my delay grader, it would probably show up a little bit better. But if when you do this, you need to you can set your delay if you want to. And then the same for the yellow. So now we're getting a full range of motion on our joystick. So what if I wanted to set up 2 more LEDs, and when I went to the left, it would turn that LED on, and if I went to the right, it would turn that LED off and an LED over here on. Well, it's possible to do that, and you can do that by using an if statement. So let's take a look at this. Move this out of the way. Piece of paper here. I think I'm going to use a smaller pen. Hopefully you can see that. So think of an if statement as an if-then statement. You see that okay? Yeah. An if-then. So if a condition occurs, then this happens. And if that condition does not occur, then this does not happen intuitively, right? So the way you do if statements in Arduino is you'll do if, and then you'll put your condition in there, and then you'll do a curly bracket, and anything that's in that curly bracket will be what happens. And if that condition is not met, it'll drop through and go on and come back and loop until that condition is met, and then this will happen. So what does that look like on our Arduino? Let's just switch over here and take a look at that. And I'm going to make this bigger. Oh, that's the wrong one. I'm going to make this bigger. So let's come up here, and I'm just going to insert an if statement. So I'm going to say if notice it changed the colors. If, I want to say this, red L value is greater, nope, I'm going to do it the other way, less than 125, I think is what I remember my neutral position is, then I want to analog write red LED red value. And then I've got, it automatically puts my end in there. So I'm saying if the value of the red L value is less than 125, then I want to write that number to my red LED. All right, which means I need to get this out of there. All right, so that's that condition, but what would happen if it doesn't? Well, then I don't want my red LED to light up. So I would just turn it off, right? So let's see here. I will need another if statement. If red value is greater than or equal 125, then digital, because I just want to turn it off, right? Write red LED low. Alright, let's download this and see if I made a mistake. I did. What did I do wrong here? Let's see. If red val oh, I didn't close in my parentheses. You probably saw that, didn't you? Do it again. All right, well, let's switch to our, well, it's off. So here is my joystick. You know what, I'm gonna get our I'll turn on our serial monitor so you can see that. All right, so I'm at 126. I could remember. So if I move my joystick to the left and I get below 125, my LED comes on. How about that? And then if I'm above 125, it turns off. Now if I had an LED hooked up over here, and I wrote my code correctly and moved my joystick to the right, I could make this one light up. And the same if I put another yellow LED down here, the same thing. So that is your homework for next week. I want you to add 2 more LEDs, and I want you to write a code that lights up the LEDs depending on which direction you move your joystick. And I have a visitor. Alright, and so here's a twist, a bonus question, bonus assignment. I want you to set the left LED up where it actually gets brighter as I go further to the left. And I want you to set the top LED up where it actually gets brighter as I move it higher, the joystick higher. And let's see how you do, and I'll have a video explaining that next week. And then we're also going to get into setting up the electric motor. So I hope you have a great day. Shoot me a message if you have any questions.